Hey everyone, Savannah here, and today we're going to draw this flaky croissant. Brushes are down below in the description, so let's jump in. First thing we're doing is changing that background color, so select your layers, click that background layer, and we're going to find one of the lighter yellow colors from our color palette that I've provided. Again, all of this is linked down below in my description. Now we're going to create a new layer, bring that below the outline layer. We're going to start filling in the croissant here. So grab that circle brush, let's grab a golden color, and let's start filling this in. Now that we have the outline of the croissant, let's go ahead and outblock that layer. We are going to add some other color. Now I did start doing it directly on this layer and I actually changed that. And so you can do that if you want to. Just know I change it. I actually create a new layer and do a clipping mask. The reason I did that is so I can have these different layers. I can add detail to them without affecting that bottom croissant layer. So right here, I started filling it in on that exact layer as the croissant and decided I'm going to change that and do a new layer. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding a new layer and I'm using clipping mask so I can add detail to this section without messing up that bottom layer. So on that same clipping mask layer, I'm adding a couple other sections here as well that I can add details to later. Now I am going to make one more clipping mask layer. I'm going to do more of these mid-tone oranges here. Just again, so that as I'm adding details and layers to these sections, it's not going to bleed into that background croissant. I can also alpha lock these layers so when I do add details, it stays confined to the areas I just colored in. Now let's go ahead and alpha lock these layers so that we can add details on top. And now I'm going to select an orange color. I'm going to add some of this oranginess back into that dark brown section using that circle blend brush. This is a croissant. It's a very buttery pastry, and so we want to make it look buttery, crispy, golden as a croissant typically does. So that's what we're going to do here is add in some lighter colors. And you'll notice that I'm a little bit chunky with my coloring here. I am going to blend this out some more. So I'm grabbing that first color again, blending these colors in together. We'll go in with a little bit more dark color as well, but it does not have to be perfectly smooth. We're going to be building up on top of these layers. So as you do that, it does blend out a little bit better. And now I'm going to go in with that darker color just along the edge here to the right. I want it to look a little bit more like it's baked to crispy perfection just an underneath area. So I'm adding that to the right side here. Again, we'll blend this out. We'll add a little bit more of this color in other areas as well. I just want to start with a little bit of a base layer here and we'll build upon that. Now let's go ahead and work on these other lighter orange colors. We're going to pull in a lighter orange that is the same color as the base croissant and do the same thing that we just did in the darker section. And as I'm shading through all these colors, I'm alternating between doing a soft touch with that pencil versus a harder touch. The softer the touch, the more it will blend a little bit more seamlessly. The harder touch, the more contrast and sharp edging you get. It's your personal preference, however you want to do. I'm going in with a little bit of a softer touch because I want it to blend a little bit better. But just know if you press harder, it does give you a little bit more of that contrast. And if you press lighter, it's a little bit softer of a blend. Now we are going to work on the base layer of this croissant. So I'm adding a little bit of this darker golden color here. Again, it's a very flaky, buttery pastry, and so we want to make it look like that. So I'm just going in, adding those rings. And when you cut into a croissant, you notice there's a lot of those layers from all that folding that they do. And so that's what I'm trying to do here is add those buttery, flaky layers. And I'm just alternating between various different colors. I'm doing that reddish orange. I'll pull in a little bit darker colors here and there. And then, of course, we want that lighter golden color. So just kind of pick through these different colors, add these layers, and it's going to start looking more like a croissant. And I'm just kind of doing light touches here as I'm adding these buttery, flaky layers. You could go heavier on that touch if you want. I'm just going a little bit lighter, and as we're building it up, it's going to be more evident that there are these buttery layers. Now I'm going to go back in with that base croissant layer. I feel like I added a little too many flaky layers, or at least made them a little too dark. So I want to lighten them up a little bit, do a little less of that dark color. And so that's why I'm going in here with that lighter base color just to blend it out a little bit more. And I'm just going in with that base color at a slightly larger brush, very lightly pressing here, but I want to blend these layers in just a little bit more. And then we'll add a little more detail back in. And I'm just going in with a light touch here, adding in some of those layers and those details. And now I'm just going in with that darkest color. I'm not going to do too many lines because I don't want our pastry to look like it was burnt in the oven. Just a few areas here and there just to give it a little bit more contrast. Let's go ahead and create a new layer. We're going to add final details to this croissant. Select that light yellow color, the same as the background. And we're actually going to use that square blend brush and just start adding in some highlights here. Again, it's a buttery croissant, so we want it to look buttery, flaky, and shiny. So I'm just kind of adding in some soft touches here throughout the croissant to make it look like it is glistening. And I did set this to clipping mask so that as we are adding these details, if we go outside of the croissant, it's not going to show up. It's just going to stay on that croissant. So we're just going to add some more details. I'm sticking to kind of these broad colored areas. I'll add a little bit to where the flaky croissant layers are as well, but more so on these sections here to make it look like it's very shiny and just came right out of the oven. The flaky layers, I'm doing a very soft touch here. As you can see, they're not as defined as they are on the broader sections. Again, I don't want them to be as shiny as they are on the broad section, so I just went with a light touch. Now I'm going back in with a white color on those sections just to make it look like it's glistening even more. Not going heavy handed on the white though, because again, I don't want it to look too white here. I want it still to be that buttery yellow color. And so a little bit of white here and there makes it look like it's really shiny. Now I'm going in with some of these darker colors here. Again, just adding a little bit more of that flaky golden crispness to this croissant, making it look a little bit more like it was just baked straight out of the oven. So that's why I'm going in with these midtones and just kind of bringing that bright color down a little bit that we just add from the yellow and that white. And then we'll add some more of that mid-tone orange color as well, just throughout like we just did with the darker color. Now let's go ahead and add that shadow below the croissant. So we're going to add a new layer, make sure it's at the very bottom of all the layers that you have. Select that very dark color, and we're going to use the circle brush. You can use the outline, you can do it free-handed if you want, but we're going to add this dark color underneath the croissant for the shadow, and then we're going to use a Gaussian blur on it as well. And now I just want to add texture to that background, so I added a new layer, brought that all the way down to the bottom. I'm selecting this little bit darker yellow color using my square blend brush. I'm just going to blend in between this color and that softer buttery color in the background until I get the background that I want it to look like. And there we have our buttery flaky croissant. If you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. We have one more video coming up in our pastry series, which is a very delicious gooey gooey cinnamon roll. Everything you need though for this video is linked down below in the description, and I look forward to seeing you next time.